What if one day a world power suddenly said, "We're going to take your land, whether you like it or not"? Imagine a sovereign people being told their home is a prize in a superpower game. This is not fiction, this is Greenland in 2026. Over the next hour, we will unpack a dramatic and unprecedented geopolitical crisis, an Arctic flashpoint involving the United States, Greenland, Denmark, NATO, Europe, and the rising strategic competition with Russia and China. This isn't just about cold ice. It's about power, security, identity, and the future of alliances in a changing world. Part 1. Understanding Greenland. Where and what is Greenland? Greenland is the world's largest island, ice-covered, sparsely populated, and strategically located between North America and Europe. Politically, it is a self-governing territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. It has autonomy over many internal matters, but defense and foreign policy remain tied to Denmark and NATO. This island is not just ice. It's situated at the GIUK Gap, the naval choke point between Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom, essential for monitoring naval movements in the North Atlantic. Natural wealth and strategic importance. Greenland is believed to hold vast reserves of rare earth elements and other critical minerals that the world, especially the technology and defense sectors, desperately needs. Yet, extreme environment and lack of infrastructure have so far blocked industrial mining, making exploitation difficult. Historically and today, Greenland also hosts military installations such as the U.S. Patuxent Space Base, part of U.S. NATO early warning and Arctic oversight systems. This mix of strategic geography and potential wealth has always attracted great power interest, but rarely as intensely as now. Part 2. The U.S. reawakens. The Greenland question. Trump's renewed push. In 2025 and into 2026, the United States, under President Donald Trump, publicly rekindled an idea many thought dormant: acquiring Greenland. The White House has admitted that plans to acquire or control Greenland are actively discussed at the highest levels of U.S. government. Trump has said the U.S. needs Greenland for national security, claiming that if the U.S. doesn't act, Russia or China could dominate the island and threaten American interests. In blunt remarks, Trump warned that the U.S. will do something with Greenland, whether they like it or not, implying diplomatic pressure or even military options. Why now? From the U.S. perspective, strategic defense. The Arctic is a growing theater of great power competition. Control of Greenland could bolster U.S. early warning systems and military posture in the North Atlantic. Resources. While mining is hard, the potential trove of rare earths and minerals is attractive in a world seeking alternatives to Chinese supplies. Geopolitical messaging. As U.S.-Russian and U.S.-China tensions rise, controlling Greenland could be seen as a strategic buffer. But these motives are contested and controversial. Part 3. Denmark, Greenland, and Europe. Pushback. Greenlanders speak. In an unprecedented joint declaration, all 5 major political parties in Greenland rejected the idea of joining the United States or being taken over. They stated clearly, "We do not want to be Americans, we want to be Greenlanders." Greenland's parliament has called emergency sessions to respond to mounting external pressure. Denmark reacts. Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has warned that a U.S. attempt to take control of Greenland could spell the end of NATO, a cornerstone of Western security since World War II. Danish leaders argue that Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark and protected by NATO. The U.S. already has defense access through long-standing agreements. Any annexation attempt would undermine trust among allies. European solidarity leaders from the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Spain, and others have rallied behind Denmark and Greenland, affirming that only Greenland and Denmark should decide Greenland's future. This unified European pushback signals that the Greenland issue isn't merely bilateral. It goes to the heart of Europe's relationship with the US and NATO. Nordic clarifications. Nordic diplomats have also publicly rejected US claims that Chinese or Russian ships are operating near Greenland, undermining one of the main rationales cited by the US for intervention. Part 4. Tensions escalate, military option on the table. The US administration stated that military intervention is always an option in securing Greenland, even as European leaders firmly reject such plans. This rhetoric has shocked allies, given that Greenland is technically part of a NATO member state. Suggesting military action against a NATO ally is nearly unprecedented. Political pushback in the US. Even within the US, some political voices characterize this approach as appalling and harmful to alliances, with Republicans criticizing the threats against a NATO ally. Historical echoes. Commentators have compared this situation to Cold War tensions, where superpowers pressured smaller states for strategic gain, drawing concern that such rhetoric undermines alliance cohesion and global norms. Public opinion and reality. Czech polls show 85% of Greenlanders oppose joining the US. Only a small fraction of Americans support a military invasion. Greenland's challenging terrain and lack of infrastructure make resource extraction costly and difficult. Climax: what's at stake? This moment is a geopolitical crucible. NATO's future. If the US threatens a NATO ally to take its territory, alliance unity could fracture. Arctic security. The region's strategic importance is expanding with climate change, naval routes, and military monitoring needs. Self-determination. Greenlanders are asserting their right to choose their path, free from external pressure. Great power competition. Russia and China watch closely. Europe may expand its Arctic defense commitments if US-European ties strain further. This is not just a fight over a remote island. It's a test of international law, alliance trust, and whether strategic ambitions can coexist with respect for sovereignty. 1. Greenlanders reject US takeover in unified statement. All 5 major political parties in Greenland issued a joint declaration strongly rejecting US efforts to acquire the island. They said, "We do not want to be Americans, we want to be Greenlanders." This statement, also signed by Greenland's Prime Minister, emphasized self-determination and democratic rights amid US pressure. Why this matters? It's rare for an entire political spectrum in an autonomous territory to unite so decisively, showing strong domestic opposition to external acquisition. 2. US claims about foreign naval activity. Debunked Nordic diplomats, including officials from Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Iceland, publicly rejected US claims that Chinese or Russian ships are currently operating near Greenland waters. Independent tracking data shows no evidence of such naval presence. Key point for viewers: one of the main US public justifications for heightened Arctic involvement, foreign naval activity, has been debunked by allies. 3. Danish-US relations strain. Denmark, long a close US ally, has expressed deep frustration with Washington's approach to Greenland. Danish businesses, particularly major energy firms like Ørsted, have felt targeted by US political pressure, increasing anti-American public sentiment. Copenhagen is reassessing its defense policy and colonial legacy as tensions grow. This shift is significant because Denmark's cooperation, particularly in NATO, has been a foundational part of Western defense since World War II. 4. Greenland's resource realities, challenges to mining. Greenland has substantial, rare earth mineral resources, valuable for high-tech, renewable energy, and defense industries. But extreme environment, lack of infrastructure, and complex geology make such mining very difficult and expensive. Even though it's a focus of US interest, experts argue that mineral extraction there is far from straightforward. What this means for the audience? Strategic value does not equal immediate economic value. Greenland's resources are promising but not readily exploitable. 5. Contingency military plans. Reportedly, President Trump has ordered the U.S. Army to prepare contingency plans that include scenarios for a possible invasion of Greenland. This move has sparked concern among military planners and allied governments. Why include this? It underscores how far rhetoric has escalated, from diplomacy and purchase offers to active military planning. Broader strategic context. 1. Strategic geographic importance, GEUC Gap, and Arctic security. Greenland sits over the GEUC Gap, a key naval corridor used to monitor movements between the Arctic and Atlantic. NATO historically used this region to track Soviet submarines. Today, it remains vital for monitoring Russian naval activity and ensuring North Atlantic security. Viewers should know, control or influence over Greenland affects transatlantic military strategy for all allies, not just the U.S. 2. Greenland's self-government and independence movement. Greenland held a 2025 general election where independence was the dominant issue. The government has begun crafting frameworks toward possible future independence. This adds depth. Greenland's political future may not simply be alignment with another power. It could become fully sovereign. 3. U.S. defense agreements versus ownership. The U.S. already has long-standing defense agreements with Denmark to operate Pituffik Space Base in Greenland for missile warning and space surveillance. Trump argues that ownership rather than lease arrangements is essential for true security control. Important nuance. The U.S. has substantial military involvement without owning Greenland. The debate is whether ownership adds value or threatens alliances. Climax. What's at stake? 50 minutes to 58 minutes. This moment is a geopolitical crucible, NATO's future. If the U.S. threatens a NATO ally to take its territory, alliance unity could fracture. Arctic security. The region's strategic importance is expanding with climate change, naval routes, and military monitoring needs. Self-determination. Greenlanders are asserting their right to choose their path, free from external pressure. Great power competition. Russia and China watch closely. Europe may expand its Arctic defense commitments if U.S.-European ties strain further. This is not just a fight over a remote island. It's a test of international law, alliance trust, and whether strategic ambitions can coexist with respect for sovereignty. Conclusion. Where do we go from here? 58 minutes to 60 minutes plus. As of today, there is no military conflict. But the stakes have never been higher. Greenland stands at a crossroads between sovereignty and self-determination, superpower rivalry, alliance cohesion, Arctic future security. This is end for today. For more information, stay with us. Like, share, and subscribe.